Welcome to a lesson on advanced prompting. I am so proud of you, honestly, for making it this far and taking time to commit to learning these new AI skills. Give yourself a round of applause, honestly. Like what you learned today is literally going to benefit your life tomorrow and so much in the future. It's going to save you so much time. And this is such an advanced concept that I'm so proud of you for really pushing your education. You're investing in your education is really like the best ROI and payoff. Like, oh my gosh, I am just honestly proud of all my students, really, genuinely. So I'm super excited for this lesson. This is a very big lesson, so let's actually take our time to focus on it. But once you learn this concept, this is going to be very powerful, and it's going to take your prompting to a whole nother level. So what is the advanced prompting framework? This is the advanced prompt framework. These are the 5 elements to take your prompting to the next level. Now, taking a step back, the reason why is because honestly, most people do not give enough information to any of the AI models in their prompt for the models to know exactly what are you looking for. So the goal, especially when you get into like software programming, or if you ever want to become a programmer, highly recommend learning how to code. It's like the best skill set ever. The reason why one of the biggest problems when people learn how to code is that they weren't explicit enough with their instructions when they give it to a computer program. That's all ChatGPT is, just a computer program. It just put in an input and then you get some output from there. So most programmers fail or write buggy code because they didn't explicitly break down step by step what do they exactly want the program to do. So that's pretty much like the concept of what we're doing here is in prompt engineering. You're trying to give as much detailed, explicit information as possible to the ChatGPT model in an organized manner for the model to output exactly what you're looking for exactly, or getting closer to what I call 80% good enough kind of things. That's it's usable, that you could use it in your final task or project. So let's break this down. There are 5 elements here. So the first element, I color coded them. The first one is role. Role, which is in purple, which is this part right here. So it introduces the role, the job title, or the persona. Who is the expert that you want ChatGPT to be to perform this task? Because remember, ChatGPT functions like a college intern, but you need to give it a persona, a role, in order for it to act or behave in a certain manner for you to get a much better tailored output or response. You're really, at the end of the day, trying to augment people or experts at the end of the day. So who is the expert that you want ChatGPT to be for this specific task, for example? So in this example, I said, you are a professional copywriter in the B2B space. Done. That's it. So now that it has this role and persona, that's great. The next thing that you need to give it explicitly is what is the task that you want to accomplish. So your instructions is most likely going to contain some action verb like write, summarize, compare, analyze, generate. And here we're saying your task is to write a LinkedIn post about the future of AI. Great. It's got its role. It knows what the purpose is, what's the task that we're working on. Lastly, this is just a little placeholder right here. This phrase, strictly following the instructions below, it's just a placeholder. And for the instructions, now you really break down detailing exactly what do you want out of this. You have a bunch of like a scope of work. You have a bunch of details that you want to give this, and you want to treat it like a college intern. Do this, then do this, then do this, then do this. Make sure it has this, this, and this. So here we're saying, hey, and you can see the placeholder. So for instructions, and then we do a little line bullet points out. I want you to use a conversational tone of voice. I want you to write in short sentences, and then I want you to end in a call to action to a free trial. Now, this is where you'll go back and forth to re-edit this prompt. If you don't get the output that you want, you'll just go back to this section right here and continue to refine your instructions until the output is exactly what, or at least what I call 80% good enough, basically. So this is where you'll continue to go back and forth. You won't get it perfectly right off the bat. Just put some instructions there, and whatever it outputs, you'll know exactly what it's missing or what to do, or what additional stuff you want to add. So just go back to this instruction part right here to refine your prompt, which I'll show you in the demo, to add another bullet point for it to redo it basically until you get 80% good enough. And then lastly, this is another placeholder. It's a phrase that says based on the context provided. So, to make your AI outputs unique, relevant, it's crucial to add examples to your prompt. This could be examples of your text that you frequently write, or existing documents about the topic that you're writing for, or any other information the AI needs to work with. This right here, context, it's just a placeholder, this phrase right here, based on the context provided. And then here, down this little section right here, context, this is where you're going to put website URLs. You're going to technically attach a PDF, which I'll do a demo, so you don't really need to literally explicitly say attach, but I'll show you how to attach a PDF document, for example. But you need to add some additional local knowledge PDF files, example work for the model to give you a much better answer, because, again, you never want to rely on just ChatGPT to just word vomit whatever it outputs. Say, no, treat it like a college intern. Here's a task, and here's some information. Here's a book, here's a guide, here's an article, here's a website, here's some additional information I want you to do something with. So that's what the context is. So that you're not relying on ChatGPT's memory or whatever's in its training data. You provide the context, and that's how you're going to get a much more higher quality output out, rather than something that just is generic of whatever the model may be limited or trained on. Lastly is the command. You're going to repeat the main task by summarizing it in a few words. This is just like your main command to just do the task, basically what you're telling it to do, which we're saying, hey, now write the LinkedIn post. Awesome. So let's take this into ChatGPT and work with it to see how it will look like, for example. Now that we're in ChatGPT, here's an example of that prompt. Remember, you're a professional copywriter. Awesome. Use the instructions below based on the context. Great. And then we can see here, here's my instructions. And then I added a context of a blog article. If we go to this article right here, here's a blog article that just talks about how AI is transforming B2B sales. Great. So that's its context, what it's going to use as a reference. And then write the post. Now, most of the time, ChatGPT, whatever it outputs, isn't going to be exactly what you're looking for. See, you're like, that's not exactly what I'm looking for. So don't worry, that's part of the process. The part of the process is just to get some output and then to refine your original prompt here based on what additional things that you need, for example. So based on my instructions, I'm like, man, I can add some more things to the instructions to get a much better article, for example. Now, I went back and forth, and this is the process. Basically, you're like, remember, our first test is it 80% good enough? Which is no, doesn't meet that first criteria. So this wasn't 80% good enough. So that means I need to go back to my original prompt, click on the pencil icon, and continue to add more instructions to my prompt to get exactly what I'm looking for. Now, I went back and forth through like 4 revisions, and then finally this is what I landed on. I added, I want 5 paragraphs because it was too short, basically, to give me an output. And then I also wanted to read the website in the context because it didn't read the website. So explicitly giving it instruction. Then it was very verbose. So I was like, you know what? You need to translate it for an average Joe. Awesome. Went back and forth, and then I was like, no, you know what? Those paragraphs are reading like a Wikipedia article. So I went back and added an additional instruction to say, hey, write each paragraph using the point story metaphor framework, which is actually a really good writing framework to teach anyone a new concept. You have to teach them in a point story metaphor framework. Since we're here, since you guys are awesome, I want you guys to just learn about this too. If you're ever teaching anything, trying to introduce a new concept, you always want to teach it using a point story metaphor. It really helps like drive the point home. There's a lot of I got that from pastors. That's whenever they give their speeches and stuff like that, they would use this framework. Very powerful. So I went back and forth. I remember trying to reach that first criteria of 80% good enough. And then I would click send. And then I finally got a really good output that I liked. I was like, oh man, we got our 5 paragraphs. It's translated for average Joe. It went and read the website. It used a point story metaphor, and then it even ended with a call to action to a free trial. Awesome. So it met all my criteria. This is way better than the first version that is spit out. So, but I went through 5 revisions to go back and forth, trying to continuously edit my message and just add more instructions until I landed on all these instructions, because you'll never get it right off the bat. That's the whole thing with like programmers. All programmers write buggy code, but they always go back and they fill in the blank with what was missing based on what was the output to get closer, closer, closer to the end goal of what you're looking for. I'm like, now this reaches my first criteria of, is it 80% good enough? I'm like, yeah, I could work with this. This is enough. So then I'm going to take this, and remember, and copy this and paste it into my digital notebook so I can make final tweaks and then go ahead and post this as a blog article. I would never, and I don't recommend, remember, never just copy paste and paste this into your final project and be done. You still have to be the human, for example, and you still have to work or edit this into your Word, your text editor, to humanize it basically, and then it's ready to ship, for example. Let's take a look at another example. Here we have another example. So remember, we got a role. So you are a marketing specialist for an online clothing store for young adults. So the role, also the context, really helps. The next part is the task. Your task is to write an email campaign to promote our summer sale. Awesome. We gave it just a little placeholder for our instructions, and then also a placeholder for our context, for example, which are our next parts down here. So here's the list of instructions. Use engaging and youthful tones. Highlight the discount and limited time offers. Awesome. And then include a clear call to action to visit the store. You would add all the details right here of what you want as the output. Here's the context, the information that's specific to your business or your task or the thing that you're working on. Or like, based on our business, we have our annual summer sale. We have discounts up to 50% off. We're doing special offers. I want a unique selling point. And then also here's our website URL, for example. And then we're going to end with the final command that says, now write the email campaign. So it has all our parts. So let's go ahead and submit this. Now we have a much better prompt that came out. Instead of going back and forth and through a lot of chats and being very short, this was enough information for ChatGPT to write a really good, remember, 80% good enough? We're like, yeah, 80% good enough. This is awesome. I can now copy this and then put this into my text editor or email and then do some final tweaking and then send it off. Now, don't feel bad if the first time you do this, especially for your task or project, that ChatGPT doesn't output exactly what you're looking for. Remember, part of programming is mostly going back and debugging the code, writing additional explicit information so that the output gets closer, closer, closer to exactly the goal that you're working towards. So remember, so if I wrote this and if ChatGPT was missing something, I'm like, nah, I need a better call to action, honestly. So I would always go back to my original prompt. I would click the pencil icon and I would add a clear call to action to visit an online store and call us today, for example. And then I would click send, and then it outputs, gets a much better information. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. I really want a call to action for them to call us today to get the promotion. That sounds great. So this is now 80% good enough. So I'm going to copy this and then put this into my digital notebook. And then from there, make any tweaks to humanize it. And then I'll ship it as the final project, for example. So now let's take a look at an advanced example. All right, we're about to get super advanced now. So this is a whole nother level. Okay, so we have our prompt. Remember, let's break it down. So we have our role. You are a customer support representative for a company that sells speakers. It's got its role, job title, persona, and the context of who would accomplish this task in your business, basically. Awesome. This is our task. Your task is to respond to a customer's inquiry about how to adjust the bass and treble on the speaker device strictly, and then, so that's the task. And then here we have our placeholder, strictly following the instructions below. So this is going to allow us to continuously add more information so that we get closer to the output that we want. And then lastly, here's the next thing. The context is a PDF file. It's not on a website, so we downloaded the PDF guide. This is like if your company had custom instructions, for example. And I have this instruction manual right here I just found on the web. Let's say this is the speaker, and somewhere on page 8, if we go there, this is what we're looking for to adjust the bass and treble. So the instructions and how to solve the instructions are in this PDF file. So the attached PDF file is saved on my computer. So let's attach that into this prompt. So I'm going to click on the paperclip icon. I'm going to click upload from computer. I'm going to click on the speaker manual. So now, instead, you can also remember in context, you could reference website links and stuff like that. But here, we're going to say read the attached PDF manual and then answer the customer's question based on what's in the manual. And we're going to click send. It's going to read the manual, and then it's going to give us instructions. Yep, that looks right. And we could double check it. We could say, hey, ChatGPT, did you make that up? Let's check it. What page did you find the answer? And it found it on page 8, which we could confirm. This page right here, adjust, and it's on page 8. So we know that it did read the PDF file, it did answer the question, and then it gave us the output of a nice email. And this is great, 80% good enough. But if it wasn't, if it was missing some things or a different tone, or I wanted shorter or anything like that, I can go back, click on the pencil icon, add some additional instructions here, and then click send basically. So then finally you'll get 80% good enough, and then you would copy paste this into your digital notebook and then go and send off that email. Now it's time for you to practice. So here's the context. You're a social media manager for a local coffee shop. You want to create a post to promote a new seasonal drink, where our new pumpkin spice latte, sounds delicious, which is only available for the fall season. The goal is to attract customers to visit to the coffee shop and try the new drink. Here's our instructions. Use warm and inviting tone, highlight the limited time availability of the drink, and encourage the followers to visit the coffee shop and try it. Include a hashtag relevant to the promotion. So you're going to work through the 5 steps with this information to go and write your own prompt. You're going to define the role. Remember, social media manager. You're going to provide the broad context of the task. You want to create a post. So work through these 5 steps using this as the example, and then I'll go ahead and pause this video and write the prompt using that template. And then as an extra challenge, create an image for that post. So pause this video, go and try. Yours won't look exactly like mine, but I want you to practice and try it on your own. And then I'll show you in the next 5 seconds, once you click play, what mine look like, for example, so that you have something to reference off. So go ahead and pause the video and go practice right now. Great, welcome back. I'm glad you practiced that. I hope you did. So now I'm going to show you what mine looks like. So here's that prompt. You're a social media manager for a local coffee shop. Your task is to create a social media post to promote the new seasonal drink, pumpkin spice latte. Strictly following the instructions below. Remember, that's our placeholder based on the context provided. So here's our instructions. Here is our context, for example, and then there is our final prompt. Let's go into ChatGPT to see how this looks, for example. So now I'm in ChatGPT and I copy pasted. This is what I wrote, for example, for that prompt. So then I have my role right here. You're a social media manager for a local coffee shop. Awesome. We gave it our task. Perfect. And then we had our placeholder for instructions, and then our placeholder for the context. Perfect. So then we listed out our instructions. We listed out some context, for example. This will be additional information. And then we gave it our command. Perfect. This is what I got. And you know what? That meets 80%. Remember, it's just a social media post. So 80% good enough. Yep, this is great. Now for the next advanced level, I didn't teach you this, but I wanted to challenge you to see your problem solving skills, to see how you would solve this problem, because you already paid for ChatGPT 4.0, so natively you can talk with it to generate an image. So I created a prompt here. Generate an image of a pumpkin spice latte drink on the counter of a home kitchen that is warm and inviting to drink, add a special star to say for a limited time only. This is purely subjective. Yours is going to be very basic, would be this. And then next level is, remember, you're always trying to be as explicit as possible, adding more information, especially when it comes to creating an image for it to generate. And this is what it created. Ooh, I'm super impressed. That is super cool. I would go and buy that. You know what? I'm going to go get me a drink right now. That is awesome. So, thank you so much for listening to this lesson. Go ahead and practice some more. If you get this, this is super advanced as far as prompting. Most of your prompts won't, you're very basic and stuff. So, this will take your prompts to the next level. So, I'm so excited. Thank you for listening to this lesson, and I'll see you in the next lesson.